Representative Greg Lopez from Colorado's 4th District, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So, Representative Lopez, I would love to start by asking you about your early days. What was it like growing up in a family of migrant agricultural workers?
You know, I tell you, it really made me who I am, right? Because my mom and dad, they worked in the fields. You know, my dad had a 6th grade education, never really truly learned how to read and write. And my mom has a 10th grade education. But, you know, working in the fields, I remember, you know, when I was little, I got more in the way than really helped, right? But I would carry my little bucket and I would try to pick cherries or strawberries, whatever we were doing. And I would probably carry that all day long just to say that I was working, you know. But I learned the importance of family, you know, because we didn't have much. We come from humble beginnings. And so family is very important to me, and just knowing that family is the most important thing that really matters, because it really doesn't matter how much money you make. It really doesn't matter how big your house is. What really matters is that you have a family that you can rely on, and they're always going to be there for you.
Mm-hmm. And what values did you actually learn from your parents that continue to guide you today?
Well, you know, that you work hard for your money, so don't waste it, okay? Be very wise when you spend it. Be honest when you tell people something, right? My grandfather used to tell me, look, the one thing that no one can take away from you, but you can throw away, is the value of your last name. And so if you're always honest and you always are doing what you say you're going to do, people will respect that. You know, if you do something that hurts the family name, know that it's going to tarnish not only your reputation, but the reputation of your children, the reputation of the entire family. So those are the values that I learned is, you know, work hard, take care of your money, you know, protect the family name, and do the best job that you can do.
And what legacy do you think your grandparents, your parents leave you?
I think they leave me with a legacy of the fact that, you know, America is a land of opportunity, right? I mean, again, who would have thought that the son of a couple that grew up working in the fields would be in Congress? You know, I don't come from money. I don't come from a great education, but I do come from a great God. You know, and I know that if I'm spiritually connected with him and I stay out of trouble and just do the best that I can, America gives you all the opportunities that she can for you to achieve whatever dream, whatever high level of success you want. It's not going to be given to you. You have to work for it. But working for it and then earning it is really what brings dignity and respect to what you've achieved.
And I guess it also talks a lot about resilience. You see your parents not have the, a high education, but they wanted that for their kids. Like the resilience part of it, I guess, is also.
You know, it's always believe in your dreams, right? Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it. You know, and even now when people say, well, you can't do that, it's like, well, let's find out, right? I don't say no, that I can't do it, because I'm a firm believer that if I do want to achieve it, everything is possible. I just don't know how, but that doesn't mean that it won't be achieved. It's just, how are you going to achieve it? And if you're committed to it, odds are that you are going to achieve it. It may take you a little bit longer than what you hoped, but ultimately, just the fact that you get closer to the goal already makes you a success.
And at age 17, you joined the U.S. Air Force. Tell us a little bit more about why you decided to serve in the military.
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting because, you know, talking about going to college was never a conversation we had at our kitchen table. We just couldn't afford it. You know, I have two older brothers. I had a younger brother that when my mom was pregnant, she got the German measles. And so when my little brother was born, he couldn't see, he couldn't hear, and he couldn't speak. So a lot of the money, extra money, went to his doctor bills and so forth. So we never really talked about the possibility of going to college. But I always wanted to progress. And so the solution for me, right, like I was talking earlier, is you join the military, and then you can take advantage of the GI Bill or educational assistance programs so that you can continue, you know, to go to college. And so I joined the military. I joined the Air Force. I'm a disabled veteran. I ended up losing 85% hearing in my right ear due to jet engines. But I was able to go to college, and I have an associate's degree. I don't have a bachelor's degree. But at the same time, if I hadn't gone to the Air Force, I would have never met my lovely wife. And so, it's a good trade-off for me, that I found my soulmate, and I did lose some hearing. But sometimes it works well, because if she asks, Greg, are you listening to me? It all depends on where she's sitting.
And what motivated you to, after going to the military, you wanted to you started serving the public office.
Right.
As a major of, if I'm corrected, is Parker, major of Parker?
I tell you, that was a nasty rumor that I was going to be running for mayor. I really hadn't planned to run for mayor, but when we moved to Parker, apparently there was a organization that they call the Metro District, and we didn't know that it had gone bankrupt. And so I'm finance. I have a finance background of some sort, and so I understood bonds and debt and that type of stuff. And long story short, I got drafted to become the homeowner president for the area, and then I found out it was the biggest neighborhood in the community. And so they kind of heard that, hey, you're representing the biggest community, so maybe you're going to run for mayor, because I was going to the meetings. I wouldn't talk, I just listened. And after a year, the rumor started that I was going to run for mayor. And so it kind of took seed, it got planted. And I said, well, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? I either lose, which nothing changes, or I win, and then I can change things. So I ended up winning by 28 votes. I was the youngest mayor elected in the state at the time. I was 27. And not only was I the mayor, but I was the city manager at the same time. So all the department heads reported directly to me. And they were 15, 20 years my senior.
But it must have taken also some sort of personality that they saw in you to ask you, or even start those rumors that you wanted to run for mayor of Parker. Yeah,
I think it was more that they realized that I was informed on what was going on, right? I was a listener. I would ask questions, right? I will never be the smartest man in the room, which is fine by me. I've learned to surround myself with good people, where I can seek their advice and seek their guidance. But I think it was that I was willing to go anywhere, talk to anybody about any issue, and also be able to answer their questions to the best of my ability. And I think that's really what the people want, right? Is they want to be heard, and they want to feel like they are part of the solution, versus, well, some of the things I hear up here in Congress is like, well, we don't know if we want to do that. We haven't talked to anybody. It's like, well, let's start talking to people. Yeah.
And be engaged in the community as well. You need to also care about your community, care what their issues are, and listen to them. So, and then after serving as a major, you became the first director of the ACE Scholarship Foundation. Tell us a little bit more how the foundations work and what's the impact in families.
So this organization is designed to help minority families, okay? The public school system is truly failing. When people really look at the graduation rates, or they look at the proficiencies of reading, math, and science in the 3rd grade, 8th grade levels, America is failing all of our kids when it comes to the education. And so this was an opportunity for minority families to say, I want to have my child go either to a private school, a parochial school, an option outside of the public school system, because we don't feel that they're learning anything. We feel that they're just pushing them through the grades. And in Colorado, they don't hold anybody back. So even if they're not ready to move on to the 3rd grade or the 5th grade, they will push them into that next grade level. And so by the time they're in 8th grade, if they are not able to read correctly, or they don't like to do the math, they will then become a disruptor in the classrooms, or they get out of school, they drop out, and it's all because we're forcing them to go through the system. And so this was an opportunity. It's a scholarship program, and they would pay 4 years, full ride. They had to select it. The schools had required uniforms, right? Parents had to be involved. They got homework assignments, and you could see it in the kids, and you could see it in the parents, how much they were vested in the education. And I tell people, look, the most precious gift that a parent can give their child is a great education. Because if they can give them that gift, that education will take their child to places and levels of success that they could have never imagined. Because it's not about the money, it's about what you know. And if you have a thirst for learning, you will go as far as you want to go.
And you've also held the role as president of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. What was your biggest takeaway from your time there?
I think my biggest takeaway was that, small business is the heart and soul of any community in any state, right? And the one thing about the Hispanic culture is they're hard workers, right? And they will always make sure that they need to do whatever they need to do to be successful. I mean, you look at all the restaurants, you look at all the hospitalities, you look at, they're hard workers, and you know what? They just want to create a better life for their children, and they don't want to get stuck, in just working for another corporation or having a 9-to-5 job. They want to leave legacies behind. They want to help their children reach that next level. At the same time, I also learned that, sometimes they're not very well informed on what it means to run a business, right? The accounting, the budgets, the hiring, all the paperwork that goes with all that. I learned that there's a lot of education that needs to happen to help the small business survive and thrive.
You spent almost 3 months in Congress. How was this experience for you?
I'm enjoying it. I'm learning a lot. I'm an observer. I read of what's going on. It's to be in the halls and sit in the chairs where decisions are being made for the entire nation. I don't think anybody can truly explain it until you're there and you're actually being asked to make decisions. But I think one of the biggest things that I'm sensing right now in this Congress, in this time, right, that our nation is divided, and it's divided to a point where it's a little scary. It's a little uncertainty, as to why are we so divided. We're brothers and sisters. We may disagree on certain issues, but we're not mean to each other, and we shouldn't be mean to each other. We should just be talking to each other, And so I've learned a lot. I've never been to Washington for any extended period of time. So I'm also learning, the history, right? Going to the museums, the history of the Capitol, the history of the White House, and really soaking in all the things that make America a nation that people still thirst to come to because they truly believe in our Constitution, and they believe that they can be free here, and they believe that, life can be what you want it to be in America, because we embrace that type of feeling that America is one of the best world nations in the world, if not the best.
And is there anything from excerpt of the book or something you saw at a museum that really stood, really went deep in this search for?
Well, one of the things that I do, let me see if so I carry this in my pocket, okay, everywhere I go. This is the Constitution of the United States. And a lot of people are aware of this, but a lot of people don't even read it, okay? And so I try to give it to as many people as I can. One of the lines that means the most to me about our nation, and it's the last line of the Declaration of Independence. And this is what it says. It says, "And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." And these are the founding fathers. When they signed onto this document, they committed to each other that they would go down together to fight for freedom and liberty. And we must honor that pledge, because if we don't, America will cease to be America. And so these are the types of things, as I walk through these halls, I think about these men, and what they created. And so to me, it's inspiring.
And it's sort of like compared to the legacy that your grandfather was talking about, like how to preserve your last name and take care of it. It sort of like resembles a little bit of like the big family that America is, that we should preserve what the values really are.
Exactly, exactly.
So lastly, for the youth who, like you, come from humble beginnings but dream of making a big difference, what advice would you offer them?
I would tell them, look, dream big, you know, and don't let others define your destiny. You define your destiny. Surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people that truly care about your future. And don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. You know, listen to those around you. You know, stay out of trouble, go to school, learn as much as you can, but always treat others with respect. You know, the one thing that we must all do is follow the golden rule. Treat others as you would like to be treated. You know, and if we could do that, America would be great once again. So I would tell them, you know what? Study, stay in school, stay out of trouble, and do the best you can, because America's got a bright future for you if you really want it.
Representative Greg Lopez from Colorado's 4th District, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. It was a pleasure.
It's been my pleasure.
Thanks.